So today's video will finish up the nursery and nursery bathroom project. It's been a very long project. It ran much longer than I expected, but today's video will be finishing up. I do have a few things that are still left to do. I have a closet to build. I'll be building that a little bit at a time. Not going to make a specific project out of that. Going to be moving on to other things that need to be done instead of that closet. So keep a watch out for Monkey in the videos. Remember, he loves to be in the videos all the time. He likes to stay with me and work with me when I'm doing work. So today I'm moving everything from this side. Everything has been moved now, and starting the demolition on this room, taking all of the fittings and moldings off the wall, getting everything ready for that new drywall. I'm going to have to make some measurements and getting the room cleaned up. Okay, starting off, gonna do some demo work, getting the corner strips out so that I can lay the 1/4-inch drywall over top of this. Cleaning the walls off, removing all the light fixture covers, that type of thing. And here I have my stilt, whatever you want to call it. This is how I'm gonna hold the drywall up while I put it into place. When you're doing drywall by yourself, this is the way you have to do it. It's not an easy thing to do by yourself. Fortunately, I've done quite a few of these jobs by myself, and I've developed a few tricks, and I've learned how to do it by myself. Now, a couple of things I need to go over with you. First of all, this is not the correct way of installing drywall. I should have torn all this out and replaced it all and re-studded it all. I did that to the other side. This side has been studs have been added to give me centers. Give me the correct centers, and I have added insulation to this side. But the proper thing to have done would have been to have taken all this out and put all new up. But I've done it this way before without issue. And here's where I made my cutting station. This is on the first floor. This is 14 sheets of drywall, and 14 sheets of drywall going up there's not any picture of the stairs here, but they go up 4 stairs and they hit a landing and they make a right-hand turn and go up 7 more stairs. So a sheet of drywall will only go up this set of stairs if you bend it, and by myself it's a hard thing to do because you'll end up breaking corners off, tearing up the existing walls. So I've learned through past jobs that the best thing to do is to set up a cutting station here on the first floor and do my cutting here. So I'll go up, make my measurements, and I come back down and do my cuts. And there's Monkey. Monkey loves to be in the videos. So there's Monkey. Okay, so we're continuing on. I've now made my second or third. I'm on to the second. Now here this is where I made a mistake. I'm doing it myself. I've made my measurements. And one thing, when you're making your cuts at a remote location, you have to try to remember to always make your cuts in the same direction, and always look at them as if you're looking at it, the job from where you're taking the measurements. I have a real bad problem with, and you'll see I made a mistake there. When I transpose my measurements downstairs, a lot of times I forget that it is flipped up and above me, so it's kind of a mirror image. My measurements are usually on the wrong side. So even though I measure twice, cut once, I still make mistakes. That time I cut a little, I knew better, so I made a small hole before I committed, because it just didn't feel right, and it wasn't. I had moved the measurement, it was a mirror image, and it was actually completely at the other end. And it just didn't feel right. So back to the doing the drywall, the 1/4-inch drywall over top. Now this just had a very thick coating over it. It was a texture, and the texture was to cover up cracks and bad jobs that hadn't been done before. And it wasn't any problem with a mildew or any big breaks or any leaks, anything like that. It was just a poor job that had been done over the years and hadn't been replaced. So I felt comfortable with just covering it with the 1/4-inch. Now you'll say, well, you should have glued it. Well, my problem with glue in a situation like this in the past has been that the glue will stick to the new drywall, the back of the new drywall, and I literally pull off the texture from the old drywall, and then you don't have any type of a bond at all. So I just use screws. I use plenty of screws, and I don't care if I miss. I mark them all before I put them up, but I don't care if I miss. It's just another hole I got to fill in, and in the end, it's a lot of sanding anyway. So sanding 20 more holes from screws is no big deal to me. I'll just sand 20 more holes. And in the end, you won't be able to find where any of my screw holes are at. You can't now. So finishing up the ceiling run here, and there probably could have been some better ways to cut this, although at this point, I don't think there was. I think this was the best layout for this job. The way I measured this, I came up with 14 sheets, and I used 14 sheets. So I was right on the money on the measuring. But I did forget about the open wall for my mechanicals to the bathroom. So there is another sheet that could have been added, so I'm going to go back and get a couple of more because I still have a closet to build. So continuing on, here we go. I'm about over the worst part of the install by myself. Now these angled ceilings, I forgot what they call these. I think that's called a knee wall. That knee wall there is a little bit difficult because the angle that they're at, it's hard to get one of these jacks to buckle in there and hold it up. So I usually get my best cut as close as I can get it, and then I find some way to jam it, usually in the middle. And if I can get 2 screws in it, then I'm moving right along. Here we go. The way a lot of times you run into these walls, these knee walls, especially like here, there was no square angles in this room, and really hard to get the 1/4 inch to lay flat on some of these areas, and no matter how I cut this, it was not going to be right. So I got it as close as I could, and then I cut it after I hung it. Trimmed the bottom off. Okay, we're moving along. This is the back side of the chimney. Now I have exposed this in other areas of the house, and it is exposed on the other side in the bathroom. Now remember, back to keeping a good, clean working area, and always remember to keep your paper filter clean in your shop vac, because you're going to be needing to run that shop vac as you're doing your sanding. And here I'm putting on my paper. This is the first time I've used this product. Like I said, I think it was the maybe it was gravity on these 45s that gave me the issue, because it didn't seem to hurt anything on the 90s. The wall joints seemed to turn out really nice, but where the 45 that was on the ceiling always sags. So maybe it was the metal in the paper that caused the sag. I don't know. I haven't had success with using paper. I normally use mesh tape, and I don't have as much issue. I usually have some pretty good joints. I have some couple of bad ones on this that I'm going to try to fix. But moving right along, getting everything taped, and the point I was going to make was make sure you keep your area clean. And on this job in this room, I'm having to go from side to side. So I sand, then I apply the new mud, then I move all the stuff over back to that side, and I do the same thing on the other half of the room. Unfortunately, that's the way I had to do this job. And it worked out okay. It was a lot of work, but it came out okay. Again, you might be able to, if you are familiar with doing drywall, or if you've done drywall in the past, you may see some cuts that maybe you don't agree with, or I could have spread out some more drywall or made a better joint. I realize that, but this is the way I do it. That's the name of the channel. Maybe it's not the exact right way to do it, but it's the way I do it, and I think it's a way that others can do it and be able to do it. So this is not a channel for professionals. It's a channel to maybe teach people a little bit, so maybe they can get some confidence and do some of these jobs themselves. If you are at least as physically capable as me, you are capable of doing this job. Nothing more here than what you learn in elementary school, playing with mud and cutting paper. That's all this is. Anybody can sand some mud, anybody can cut some paper. With some practice, you'll get reasonably good at it, and you'll be able to do these jobs yourself. And one thing's for sure, if you mess it up, you can always just put more paper and mud right back over top of it again. And moving right along, making sure I clean up as much dust as possible, because when I go to paint this, I don't want the dust to be in my paint. Make sure you wear a mask. Of course, that goes without saying nowadays. Make sure you wear a mask. And that is a political statement. Wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. Moving right along. Starting to look much better now. I'm starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I'm starting to get pressured for time though. Need to get this done. The girls are going to be here before I know it. And there was Monkey looking out the window. It's coming right along. Now if you don't have that right there, a mortar board, you should get one. They're not that expensive, and I don't know how you could do much of a drywall job without them. I think you have to buy one. They're not that expensive, and it takes a while to get till you learn how to use one, but you'll figure it out. Once again, that's back to what you learned in elementary school, working in art class. Move everything again. There's Monkey. Starting to look pretty good. Everything's dry, and I have to sand the whole thing again. Every morning. Sand again, wipe everything down, sand again, wipe everything down. Now when you finish all your sanding, you need to wipe all your walls down with a sponge. Make sure you wipe all the dust off before you try to put any paint on drywall. Here we go, we're getting some paint on it now. I'm starting to really look a little different. So I'm starting to see the end product now. And my joints are starting to look better all the time, because once you get that flat paint on there, it doesn't really hide it all. It just that's the way it is. The flat paint makes it lay down and start to get that good finish to it. Okay, we're going to do a little tour this morning before I get started. This is where we're at on the nursery. It's a little dark. It's still dark outside, and the lights are a little dim in here, but we'll see what we can see in here. Here's where we're at. Still have to put up the final trim on here. I have most of the trim up on, and it is cut and nailed to the wall. I have some touch-ups to make still on the angles. This has been really difficult making these transition angles. I use paper on this particular job. It's a new paper with the metal backing, and in some spots it turned out absolutely perfect, and in some spots the paper lifted and buckled, and now I'm stuck with trying to cover that transition. Actually, overall though, the job turned out really nice. Right now I'm just doing touch-ups. That's all that's left is I'm touching up the corners, getting the corners a little tighter. You'll see the transition here that I'm working on. I'll still be able to, now as this dries, it seems to be laying down over time. So we're going to see if possibly just some good amount of drying time, see how that works, see if it lays down. But overall, the job is really nice, especially compared to what it was. Now eventually I ran out of time. Only have, I think, a week and a half from this filming, and the babies are due, so I'm out of time. I have to do what I can do to finish this up and square this job off and get things situated, because life's getting ready to get too busy for me. So there are some touch-ups I need to do, some paint. Like I like my paint lines to be really tight, so I'll touch that up. Now this wall here, the reason this is here, I covered up these were access tunnels for the cats. The cats used to be able to go from room to room with the tunnels. Well, we don't want them. We don't want to give them that access anymore with young girls, with the babies, infants. So we are covering the holes up, and I've covered it up on the back side. The front side here, this is actually going to be a closet. So I have all the framing. Like I said, I ran out of time, and I can do this. I can do this a little bit at a time. A day here, a day there. Now what's going to happen here is I'll be framing in over to the edge of this that goes into the attic. That's the attic access. So over to this access will be framed in, and that's why it's a little rough over there. Didn't do a whole lot to try to get that perfect, because that is going to be a closet. It's all this is going to be a closet, and it's going to have double open doors, double swing closet doors on it. So this whole area here will be a closet, and that makes it legally a bedroom here for resale. Makes this room still legally a bedroom, and this room is still legally a bedroom. There's a closet there. So there is the bathroom that I added. This was a closet. So added this bathroom because we quit using this upstairs area, because when you use this area, if you have to go to the restroom, you have to go all the way downstairs, and in the middle of the night, it just isn't worth it. We moved everything downstairs, and we just lived downstairs. So with the babies coming, this is all going to be a nursery. I wanted to make it so that we can come up here and basically stay up here if need be, until whenever with babies. So there's each girl will have a room, and as they grow, they'll have a bathroom in the middle, and each one will have their own room. And as they get older, they can use that to get ready for school or whatever, and this will be their bathroom. So that's the idea. Hopefully it'll work out that way. Now, what happened is, originally when I started doing this project, I was only using reclaimed materials. I was trying to scrape on every penny, and for 90% of the project, that's what we did. So this was recaptured drywall. This was reused drywall on this wall here. It's a little rough. So I put it there just to hold everything in place until we got everything else finished. Because what I'm doing, I left, this wall has all the mechanicals in it for the sink and the lights. So since I saved all this wood was originally the closet. I didn't cut any of that. All I did was move it out. I just moved all of that out. It had paneling on this side. I pulled the paneling off. I put the mechanicals inside, and I don't want to close it up because there's a sink drain there, and the sink drain has a trap, of course, and it has a vent line outside in the attic area. And I want to make sure that there's no leaks in that sink and no problems with electrical, because there will be no more access to any of this stuff once I close it up. And I don't want any problem with water down below. So I've got everything finishing up all the paint, the touch up, everything. And the last thing that I do is going to be to close up this mechanical wall. And I probably won't use that drywall. I'll have full sheets, because that's just one sheet there that would go there. Like I said, I was just reusing drywall when I started out, and that's where that sheet ended up. So, but that's the last step, is to close in this mechanical wall, because all the access to the toilet, to the water closet, and all of that stuff, that's all accessible in the attic. So I can always get to that, but I can't get to this wall. So that's where we're at. Little catch up on the nursery job, And we will today be getting all these tools out of here, all the paint touched up, carpet cleaned. We're going to get the final touches on um, the trim. And like I say, this will be a closet eventually. This won't get done today, but this will eventually be a closet. And that will make a little, this will actually be like a little hallway. It'll be a hallway in between the two rooms. So all right, that's where we're at. We'll get started on getting it all cleaned up and finished. Okay, we have the trim cut to size, and I have a small air compressor. I use a small air nailer when I put wall trim on. I know most people probably, well, a lot of people have gone to battery powered, but this is what I have, and you'll see it does a fine job. And for now, seems to be a little less expensive than the battery powered that are out on the market now. I'm sure I will switch. This is just what I have, and it does a good job, so I haven't made any attempts to change it out. And it's just a little nailer. That's the only thing I found wrong with it, is it has a little pin that needs a little C-clamp, a little clamp put on there. A little pin comes out sometimes. So I don't know why it does that. So have the trim cut to size, and I'm going to hold the trim so that I try to make sure that, of course, the trim fits where it's supposed to on the wall, but I also manipulate the trim so that it makes a good corner. Now I go, after I put this trim on, I go back. Normally I paint it before I put it up. This time I didn't. Everything else that's up is already painted, but this hasn't been painted. But I always go back with painter's caulk. I caulk all of my cuts and all of my nail heads, and I repaint. At that time, I also caulk between the wall and the baseboard. Makes a huge difference if you cover up all these cracks. Fill them all in with painter's caulking. Does a great job, and the job will look really finished when you're done. It'll have a really good, tight, finished look to it when you're done. Okay, here we are. We're doing the final cleanup. We've got the trim on. I've got the trim on the walls. Everything's caulked, and I'm just doing some final touch-ups, fixing some lines that are not straight. I'm going to repaint the door,
It's satin white instead of a semi-gloss. Kind of switched everything to that satin. I like that look a little better. I have a few corners that I'm going to touch up one more time. And we're moving in. We've got babies on the way and we have to get this stuff going. So that's it. Finishing up. What do you think?
I think it looks sharp. Looks real sharp.
It's a big difference from what it was. This was one of the projects that was So this is a good time for me to say that if you like the content, if you would hit subscribe, and if you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when I have new content that becomes available. And if you subscribe, that'll kind of help me out, and if you can share the videos, that'll really help me out. So that'll just let you know when I have new content if you're wanting to follow my channel. Here's a look at some of the finished product. We're finished with this job. These are the final pictures. I'm very happy with the way it turned out, and I'm happy to have it nearly complete. This was a job we wanted to do when we moved in, and this is one of the ones that we're finally getting to mark off the list, and for a good reason. This area is going to be used again, and I'm very happy about that. So there it is. There's Monkey. I hope I've helped you learn a little bit about doing this type of work. And remember, they may do it another way, but that's the way I do it. We'll see you next time.